Joseph was a handsome and pure-hearted boy, gifted with a beauty unlike anyone else of his time. His face carried a calm light, and his character was just as beautiful as his appearance. Even as a child, there was something special about him, a quiet dignity that made people stop and look twice. Thrown into the well, consumed by jealousy, his brothers took him far from home and threw him into a deep, dark well, leaving him alone. The night swallowed him, but he was not abandoned. God placed a light around him, a light that rose from the depths of the well. Hours later, a caravan passed by. One of the men lowered a bucket to fetch water. When he looked down, he froze. Light was shining from inside the well. They pulled the bucket up, and instead of water, they found a radiant, beautiful boy, calm and unharmed, as if the darkness had never touched him. The men were stunned. They whispered among themselves, realizing this child was no ordinary boy. They took Joseph with them, and later sold him in Egypt, for a small price, unaware of his true worth. In the house of power, Joseph grew up in the house of a powerful Egyptian official. As the years passed, his beauty only increased. People would say half of the beauty of the world was given to him. But more striking than his appearance was his modesty and self-control. The official's wife, Zuleika, became completely obsessed with him. His presence unsettled her. She tried to pull him toward wrongdoing, but Joseph turned away, choosing purity over desire. When her attempts failed, she accused him falsely to protect her own pride. Zuleika and the women of the city. The women of the city began gossiping about Zuleika. Mocking her obsession, they laughed and said, how could she lose herself over a servant? To silence them, Zuleika invited them to a gathering. She gave each woman fruit and a knife, then told Joseph to enter the room. The moment he appeared, the women were stunned. They were so overwhelmed by his beauty that they unknowingly cut their own fingers. Not even feeling the pain, in shock, they exclaimed that he could not be an ordinary human. He looked like a noble being. Zuleika turned to them and said, this is the one you blamed me for. Even then, Joseph remained humble and untouched by pride. The official's wife became obsessed with him and tried to tempt him into wrongdoing. Joseph firmly refused, choosing righteousness over desire. To protect herself from shame, she accused Joseph falsely. Even though he was innocent, Joseph was sent to prison. Prison was another test. Instead of becoming bitter, Joseph remained patient and faithful. He treated others with kindness and spoke about belief in one God. Two prisoners had dreams and asked Joseph to interpret them. He explained their meanings truthfully, and everything happened exactly as he said. One of them was later released and promised to remember Joseph, but he forgot. The king's dream. Years later, the king of Egypt had a troubling dream that no one could explain. The former prisoner suddenly remembered Joseph and told the king about him. Joseph interpreted the dream clearly. 7 years of prosperity would be followed by 7 years of severe famine. He also gave wise advice on how to prepare. The king was impressed and asked for Joseph's release, but Joseph refused to leave prison until his innocence was publicly proven. He did not want freedom built on doubt. When the truth was revealed, Zuleika herself admitted her wrongdoing, and Joseph's honor was restored in front of everyone. Only then did he step out, not as a prisoner, but as a man cleared of every accusation. The same palace that once whispered about him now stood in respect. The king placed him in charge of Egypt's wealth and storehouses. The boy, once sold for a few coins, now held the keys to a nation. When famine spread across the lands, people came from far away seeking food, including the very brothers who had thrown him into the well. They stood before him, unaware of who he was. Joseph recognized them instantly. This moment could have been revenge. It could have been punishment. Instead, Joseph chose wisdom. He tested their hearts not to hurt them, but to see if they had changed. And they had. The arrogance was gone. Regret had replaced pride. Finally, Joseph revealed himself. The brothers froze. Fear washed over their faces. They expected anger. They expected justice. But Joseph said words that echoed mercy. He did not blame them. He forgave them. He reminded them that what they planned for harm, God turned into good, not only for him, but for an entire nation that survived famine because of what he endured. Joseph sent for his family. His father, who had cried silently for years, came to Egypt at last. When they were reunited, grief melted into gratitude. Joseph seated his parents with honor. His family stood before him, not bowing in worship, but in respect and recognition. In that moment, the dream from his childhood came true. The stars, the sun, the moon, everything made sense. The well, the slavery, the prison. None of it was wasted. Joseph did not let power change him. He ruled with justice, humility, and mercy. The beauty that once turned heads never turned his heart away from what was right. At the end of his life, Joseph did not ask for wealth or legacy. He asked only to leave this world in faith and to be joined with the righteous. His story closes not with fame, but with peace. This is the true story of Prophet Joseph. He's mentioned in Torah, Bible, and Quran. Please like, share, and subscribe for more true stories. 3.